Hi everyone, I am Sutap, an Agile coach, and I'll be talking about simple yet impactful metrics in the Agile world. Uh, I will go through the slides. If you have any questions, feel free to intervene whenever. Uh, and at the end of the session also, we will have some time reserved for question and answers. Okay, so let's start with why. So why measure? Uh, is it to get status? Is it to drive better outcome? Or is it to drive behavior? Or maybe is it to get feedback, to do diagnostics so that we can actually, on our process, product, our people. So what really is the reason? Why do we measure? Or maybe it is, a combination of few of these things. To start with, let's first talk about waterfall. Now, why waterfall? Let's face the fact, many our metrics today is still based on our waterfall experience. So what do we really? What are we doing in waterfall? In waterfall, we define our desired outcome upfront. We then create a checklist, an extensive checklist, and do regular checks to ensure that we are on track. Now, the scope, the cost, and the timeline are already defined. And what we are doing is that we are actually creating a baseline plan and we are checking our performance against it. So, for example, for scope, percentage complete compared to baseline plan. For schedule, meeting, project, maybe phase, even task level milestones and due dates. For cost, we try to manage cost at all levels, at project level, phase level, task level. For quality, we look at defect targets, our test coverage targets, and things like that. And why are we doing all these things? Now, I'm referring back to our previous slide on why measure. Maybe to get status. So that is, let's face the fact, one big factor of why we are measuring. So where do we stand with respect to the baseline plan we created? And also to, again, let's face the fact, a lot of it is to drive behavior. I would also like to add here that from our experience, these measurements, these metrics do have their pitfalls. They do tend to give us a false sense of security. For example, 100% construct complete used to be something we used to give a lot of importance. You know, if we are meeting this milestone, it was almost considered as the battle is won. But the reality is that this is where the battle used to actually start. This is where 100% construct complete is where we used to get to our the testing phases, and lot of chaos, lot of long weekends. In Agile, things are a bit different. So compared to waterfall, where it was about trying to meet, it was about meeting desired outcome. Here, the focus changes to getting early and continuous feedback. Act on these feedbacks so that we can improve our outcome all the time. So you would agree the focus now has changed from meeting predefined outcomes to getting better and better outcomes. Any questions here, by the way, and I can take it. Okay, so I'll continue. So looks like our the goal here is to improve outcome. So let's first discuss what outcomes are we really talking about. At this point, I will introduce uh, you to ODIM framework. Now, ODIM framework comes from Larry McRoney. He is a well-known name in agile measurements, and he has worked extensively with Rally and Rally data on measurements. And what is really the ODIM framework? ODIM framework is to get better outcomes, we have to take better decisions. To take better decisions, we need to get better insights, and to get better insights, we need to measure better. So this is really the guiding principles behind ODIM framework. Larry also talks about 6 important vectors, the outcomes we really care about. Now, these vectors are industry standards, not really invented by Larry or invented by me. They will make sense in most agile environments. So what are these vectors? One of them is productivity. Now, we all care about productivity. We want our organizations, our teams to be more and more productive. The other one is about predictability. So we want the forecast we are giving to our customers are based on our predictability. So this is something definitely important to us. Responsiveness, that is how fast we can deliver value to our customers. Quality, we care about a stable, a robust product, a robust software. So quality is also important. Then employee satisfaction and customer satisfaction. So end of the day, we definitely want happy customers. And we also do care a lot about our employee satisfaction, employee happiness. Now, so these are the 6 vectors Larry has introduced us in the ODIM framework. Now, I would like to add here is that what is important is not really the vectors. Now, you can add, delete some of them, if something else is making more sense. What is really important here is the thought process, the approach. And the approach is, ultimately, we care about outcomes. So end of the day, nothing else really matters. Now in Agile, we might talk about a lot of other things. We might talk about ceremonies, doing stand-ups, doing, working in sprints. Everything is important, but these are enablers. What really, really matters is getting good outcome. And all our measurements, all our KPIs, all our metrics are how to improve these outcomes. Also, another important aspect is, which Larry talks about, is that keep it simple. Now, too many vectors, too many KPIs will make it extremely difficult to get insights and also to make decisions. So, so keeping it simple, having less vectors, having simple and less KPIs is also important. Now let's talk, we talked about the vectors, now let's talk about KPIs behind these vectors, these outcomes. Again, any questions by anybody, please feel free to unmute yourselves and ask me. Okay. So let's talk about the KPIs now. These are some suggestions, some possible metrics, KPIs behind each of the vector. Again, the approach here is keep it simple. So for each vector, the suggestion is to have one KPI. Anything more will make it complicated and make an analysis and uh, taking decisions for better outcomes very difficult. So what are these KPIs? For productivity, one good KPI could be, or one good indicator could be the throughput of stories or story points. That is, how many user stories or how many story points we are getting completed in a unit time. For predictability, velocity can be a good vector. For example, if a team is averaging 20 in the last 3 sprints, we can actually look at the backlog and we can say that looks like they will take 7 sprints to complete all the backlog items. So velocity is a good indicator. Burn downs and burn ups charts are also something which can be helpful in giving a good predictability, creating good predictability. For quality, defect density is something which we can consider as a good KPI. That is, for example, in production, how many defects you are finding, how many defects per say, maybe story point, something like that. Escaping defect, that is because the whole idea of Agile is that we should be able to find defects early, test early, find defect early. We do not want many defects to be escaping to the later testing cycles or to maybe production. So we would like to see how many defects are there in production, what is the trend and things like that. Responsiveness. A good indicator is cycle time or lead time. Now, what is cycle time? Cycle time is how much time, for example, a story is taking from ideation to production. So, and the whole idea is that as we want to deliver value faster, we would definitely like our cycle time to reduce over time. Or at least we should have a very clear idea of what really is the cycle time and what we can do to improve our cycle time. The other two important vectors here are customer satisfaction and employee satisfaction. For customer satisfaction, of course, one important aspect is continuous engagement with the customer. Ensuring we are understanding what they want, we are getting feedback from them, and it is improving over time. We can also do surveys to find about customer satisfaction. Same with employee satisfaction. We can do surveys. We should ensure that our employee engagement is good. Again, any questions here at this point? Okay, so let me go to the next slide, which is while we talked about some important KPIs in the Agile world, we talk about the 6 vectors. We also should be very clear on what are the things we want to watch out for. For productivity, for example, it is very common for us to start measuring individual productivity. That is productivity of a team member or productivity of an individual or productivity of maybe departments. We start thinking in silos. The whole idea is that if there is local optima, it will lead to global optima. Not really a great idea, because what it instantly starts doing is that it starts, the people start taking working in collaboration or collaborative way of working as really a hindrance to their productivity. So people start, there is less collaboration. So while an individual might be looking very productive, but as a team, the productivity will definitely go down. The other is for predictability, we do not want to benchmark velocity. For example, we don't want to say that because team A is achieving a velocity of 20 per sprint, team B should also be do 20 or maybe should do more than that. Or all the organization, all the teams in the organization should be at least be doing 20 in a sprint. We don't want to do it simply because each team is different, the challenges are different, the maturity level is different, the environment is different, and every team should have their own velocity. And the whole idea is that we as a team, we are looking at our velocity and seeing ways to improve it rather than comparing with other teams. Also, another thing to watch out for is giving partial credit. Because we want to see progress, what we start immediately to do is that, for example, in a user story, if design is done, we would say that 20% of the user story is complete, and we will give credit for that. If construct is done, design and construct, UT is done, we would say 70% of it is done, because 70% of the effort is already been consumed. Now that is not a great idea, and we know why. We really don't want to give partial credits to say user stories. In quality, setting defect targets. Now I have an example of a tester within a team whose evaluation got affected, appraisal got affected, because he was not really finding enough defects. Now the whole, the truth was that the team was working in a very collaborative way. They were actually able to, avoid defects, but this aspect was not really part of the appraisal system. So defect targets, individuals having defect targets, the testing organization having defect targets also is something we want to watch out for. Cycle time targets. Now there is a picture here on this slide where there is anything below a particular number, below 5 is supposed to be a good cycle time. Anything beyond 5 up to 10 is seen with suspicion, and beyond 10 is supposed to be bad. Now again, we don't want to get there. Of course, keeping an eye on the cycle time, keeping it in control is important, but we really want to understand why a particular story is taking longer. And there could be various reasons. One could be that it could be maybe there are some challenges in these user stories, and that is making it longer. And we want to understand what these challenges are. Or maybe the team is doing something very innovative in this user story, and that is making it longer. And we definitely don't want our teams to stop being innovative. So the idea is not to have cycle time targets. The idea is to look at cycle time and look at the numbers and see what really is happening. Why some stories are taking shorter? Why some stories are taking longer? What really is our average cycle time? What really is our cycle time targets, and things like that. Employee satisfaction. If we have an unsafe environment, that is an environment where people don't feel safe to open up, to openly talk about what they feel, then the whole surveys or the whole employee engagement really will really fail. So creating a safe environment is also something we would like to encourage. Another thing to look out for is static KPIs. That is, uh, you know, having, and I think something I've already talked about, having targets uh, uh, for the organization and ensuring people are meeting these targets. We don't want to go there, because the whole idea of agile is that we should be able to get feedback, and we should be able to work on the feedback and improve all the time. Now, for example, as our cycle time trends, our velocity trends, our escaping defects trends, our customer feedback or our employee feedback, the trends, these are things I would be more interested in. For example, our cycle time, if for in this particular picture, we see that the cycle time over time is going up, and the average cycle time. Now, why is it going up? Why, on an average, things are taking longer? What really is the bottleneck here? Or even the velocity chart. If things are going down, that is, the teams are not able to finish the number of stories they were able to finish in the previous sprints, where is the bottleneck? So these are the things I would look out for rather than having static KPIs. Now, okay, so this is basically what I wanted to talk about. Again, the whole idea is to keep it simple. The whole idea is the thinking process behind the agile metrics or KPIs. That is the focus on outcomes and improving outcomes. And beyond that, of course, I introduced you guys to the ODIM framework. There are other frameworks also are available, so you can have a look on that. Again, the importance is what is important is the thought process, and beyond that, you will basically will have to find what really makes sense in your organization. The 6 vectors I talked about, again, these are industry standards, but maybe things will be slightly different in your organization, and you would like to measure things differently. So thank you for your time. And at this moment, I will like to take questions. So please feel free to ask.
Hey Sutap, Rahul here.
Here,
thanks. It was very good on the metrics and the stuff. You talked about the customer satisfaction, right? So how often do you take a survey, or the method? Means how many questions normally are there? Because what I have observed, my experience, if we are sending too many questions, they may not be interested. And how frequently, what is your call on this one, or how frequently you are getting the customer satisfaction survey?
Okay, again, and frankly, I have not a lot of experience on this. Something I definitely would like my next engagements to work on. In my where I was working, we definitely used to give customer satisfaction or customer surveys a lot of importance. But we used to do it something like once in a year. I know it is not good, so definitely it should be more frequent, and more than the surveys, which frankly speaking tend to be static at times, that you are asking the same questions to all the customer. What would be more important is how we are engaging with them, how our people who are customer facing, talking to them, getting feedback, real time feedback, rather than doing scheduled customer service. but definitely a good question here, because I think my experience and not doing enough and needs to improve.
Okay. So I have seen. I haven't tried that out, but uh, I think I was in one of the conference, and then the person talked about that. He proposed that we should be sending it every sprint,
Okay.
just 6 or 7 questions, mainly on the product owner perspective. That are you getting enough value? Do you feel that the quality of the uh, deliverables are good?
Okay.
uh, Timeline and so 6 or 7 questions only. So what he said that we can have actually trend there, that whether we are improving or going static or whether we are degrading and other stuff.
Right.
So that also was good.
Right. Makes a lot of sense, Rahul. So maybe something we can discuss further and maybe come up with something uh, which really adds a lot of value. Okay. Any other question?
Uh, One more. I joined late,
Sorry, your voice is breaking.
but we talked about the
I'm sorry, but I'm not able to.
productivity,
It's not
right?
audible.
What is, how do you measure? I think there was a
I'm sorry.
number of
Uh,
user stories by something was there in the slide.
Sorry, guys. Whoever was talking, I'm extremely sorry. I really couldn't understand, get the question.
So there is a question from another Shrikant, which is about what is cycle time.
Okay, great. What is cycle time? So, simple cycle time is about how much time a certain thing is taking. Now, for example, we can define what really makes sense to us, from where to where we want to measure the cycle time. Now, for example, if something is, there is an idea or a requirement coming from the customer, uh, how much time that idea, when it originated for the first time, to maybe production. So this could be a good indicator of how lean our system is, how fast things are moving across the value stream or across the workflow and getting into production. Now, I would also maybe, for example, look at a cycle time of when the item first came to when it really reached the team, so that the team can start working on. So that cycle time or that lead time will basically give an indication of how fast things are reaching my team, and is there something we can do about it to improve that. Or maybe the team has started working on it and it is now deployed, how much time that is taking. So all these things, but basically it is, to cut the story short, how much time a particular thing is taking from one in the value stream, from one stage to uh, to another stage.
But Sutap, like, don't you think that for each requirement, it may take a different time? If something is very like complex or something is too easy, then it may take a different time. Then how it will help?
I agree with you, by the way. And therefore, what I also mentioned was that don't have targets, don't have static KPIs, don't say that cycle time between 5 to 10 days good and anything beyond that is not good. We will have to take case by case basis. So what we typically do is that in our cycle time chart, we will look at which story, what really is the mean cycle time, and many of the stories will be around that. And some of them will be outliers. Either they're taking very less time or taking more times. And I would actually like to go into these outliers and maybe try to investigate. And by the way, I'm not saying the outliers are bad. There might be a very good reason why they are there. But I definitely would like to know the reason. And if there is something we can do about to change it, we would work on it and change it. Other, of course, aspect is that we would if possible, we would like to have similar size stories. If you are working in Scrum, typically your story will fit into, will definitely be much shorter than your sprint, length. So all these aspects are important. So similar size stories, how to slice into smaller stories, all these things are important. But at the same time, I agree with you that there will be outliers and it is perfectly valid.
Just want to add one point here is that apart from the cycle time, in the cycle time, what you're trying to measure is also important, that what is the delay in doing some work. So for example, testing takes 1 hour, but the delay of taking the testing item into the action for the testing takes the whole full day. So development was already done, but the delay of getting into the testing was the whole full day. So how to reduce those delays? So you can try to focus on those aspects as part of reducing cycle time.
Thanks, Shrikant. Any other questions?
So there is another question from Rahul, who says that how to measure the productivity.
So productivity, what we talked about, at least from my experience, throughput is a good indicator of productivity. And when I say throughput, what I'm trying to say is that how many user stories we are getting, we are completing in a unit time. Now, of course, so when we are saying user stories, so the focus is on user stories. The focus is on not an individual, something I already talked about. The focus is on team and team productivity. The focus is on maybe if there are multiple teams, the productivity of these teams. The whole idea is that we look at the throughput numbers and see what really is our throughput and how do we improve over time. Again, not really getting into the absolute numbers or benchmarking, or having competition between the teams. Rahul, did I answer your question or not exactly?
Yeah, but what I was thinking is we need to find out different ways to also look at the productivity. In the Agile version 1 survey, State of the Agile survey, they say the top 3 benefits, one of the benefit is productivity. So we also have to look at what I'm thinking broad is like a number of like how soon we are now going to the market, the number of the frequency of releases, whether we can consider that as one of the way to consider productivity. Second one is number of user stories. We said that now those are not required. We are saying that okay, those who are in the backlog, but now we are saying going out from the backlog, we don't need them. So that means indirectly we are cutting down on some of the requirements, like the Agile principle, right? The art of maximizing the amount of work not done. So
Right.
what we have identified as not done. So if team was supposed to do 10 user stories, it would have taken 10 days. Now they are doing just 7 user stories because 3 are not required. So they have cut down on the time. So that is also kind of a improvement in productivity. Because just considering the number of user stories, so throughput I got the point. It should be throughput, number of user stories divided for a 1 week period or 2 week period, that we can consider. But I think we should also explore other options, and then look beyond the normal throughput productivity. Otherwise, what will happen is we implemented agile, and then what are the benefits? Just throughput, okay, that is good, but if team is already good, we have to bring the benefit of agile, and then working closely and working on a prioritized requirement, the most important, the valuable user stories and other stuff, if we can consider. So just putting my thoughts. Any other views on this one?
I mean, what you are basically saying is that it is not only about whether I'm productive or not, it is about whether I am also delivering value or not. And you are saying that maybe both the aspects need to get combined here.
Yeah, is there a way to combine?
I mean, somebody was saying something. Okay. So Rahul, maybe something we can, something we can give thought to. Of course, the assumption here is that when we are, when we say a user story is complete, it is something which is already prioritized and has value. So are we, so I mean, that is the underlying assumption here. And so do we really need to go into the aspect of value or not, is something we need to give up.
Yeah, got your point. So throughput will cover that aspect. We are picking up only user stories which are already prioritized.
Right. I mean, if I completed 10 user story in this month, the whole idea is that these are prioritized user story, which is valuable to the customer. And that is the basic assumption. Right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Actually, the idea of the whole productivity stuff is to really understand, like for example, we have 400 story points right now. And if productivity is improving, then maybe we can finish the stuff or the work in the less time. So, so definitely Agile focuses on working on the work items only which are basically having the business value. But here with the velocity analysis and how the trend is improving, it is more about the predictability of the backlog which is coming